that's what Mike Norvell teased yesterday too. Tremendous interest was the term he used. In the formative hours after these firings, I'm sure they put out feelers well before the firings, but in those hours, he seemed almost surprised a little bit by the amount of interest that Florida State got, because it's not just from the college ranks, but potentially the NFL ranks. He's going to have a nice decision on his hands here.
I think it's fair to consider as well that he has to say that, and I would say that even if it weren't true. I'm not saying he's lying. I am saying that if I'm the coach who's having to make these hires, I certainly don't want to present this as a place that is a lame duck, that has zero chance to flip it, that is in desperate and dire straits, and that the pool of coaches are less than desirable. And that goes for the players too. I mean, he's not going to do that. He's going to say that he's excited by the opportunity. He's going to talk about the people that have reached out. Maybe there's a ton of people that have reached out. Maybe not. I don't know right now. Again, I don't know that he earns the benefit of the doubt for any of this stuff anymore. And go ahead.
Yeah, I would say I think the university does, though. The university does. I think people would still, even if they say, "Ooh, I don't like the answers I got." I think when Florida State coordinator jobs come open, I think your phone rings. And
I think it rings. I just wonder to the extent that you're talking about known commodities, people that have been very successful that are currently holding down jobs in which they're very successful and would be on a short list amongst college football fans that would excite or move the needle if their names were mentioned. I don't know about that. I mean, honestly, if you've got a great job at a Big Ten school or an SEC school and you're making a ton of money and you've got a guaranteed path, even with multitudes of losses, to get to a playoff and access to more money than Florida State, you're not, I don't think, kicking down the door or lighting up the phone for a job at Florida State right now. I think you'd have to be an up-and-coming Group of Five coach. I think you'd have to be an assistant, perhaps, at one of the aforementioned SEC or Big Ten schools that feels buried, maybe feels like they're not going to get a chance to be the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator at said school. Maybe they're in an untenable relationship with the head coach or something that we don't know about. Perhaps that exists. Maybe there's an NFL coach who has been an OC before in college, but is now a receivers coach in the NFL and doesn't really see a path to ever going back to being an OC and eventually a head coach, which is their desire. There are a lot of tentacles to all of what I just said there, but I don't know that some of these big names that everybody wants Florida State to go grab are like, oh yeah, I want that job. I mean, they probably have good jobs.
Sure. Look, I'm not saying that a coordinator from a Power 2 institution would take a coordinator's job here and that's not a lateral move. It's a backwards move unless you're, one of the worst Power 2 jobs in America. But even then, I don't think there's mutual interest. Of course, you're wanting somebody who's looking for advancement here. So they could be a coordinator at G5 level, or they could be a position coach at the Power 2 level at a program like a Georgia, like an Oregon, like whatever. I mean, it could be, again, that you're looking to take a step up. And if you're looking for position coaches in the NFL, maybe there's a running backs coach with the Ravens that might be interested in calling plays for Florida State next year. I'm sure people would welcome that with open arms. It's just I think that this program, it's taken a hit, but it's still Florida State. And if you go do something here at Florida State, think about it if you're from an offensive coordinator's perspective. You get this thing to 6-6, 7-5 next year, or better yet, you average 30 points next year for Florida State, and you're allowed to call your own system, man, your phone's going to be ringing in 12 months' time. I think that is the attractive option of coming here is, oh my God, they're so bad. If I even do a B- job here with my skill set, this is the ego of the coach and the candidate talking, man, my phone's going to be ringing for jobs in the Power 2. It's going to be ringing for headman jobs within the structure of the top 50 programs in the country. If I can turn this dog crap into something nice, I think that's also part of it, because Florida State still gets a ton of eyeballs. So if you do it here, people are going to notice.
No doubt that the success at Florida State as either a DC or an OC elevates you and your job status. Dillingham, currently the head coach at Arizona State. I think there's no doubt that is true. If you succeed with the Noles, it's a high-profile success. I don't disagree with that. you got to know that you have an opportunity to come in, and this is not a toxic culture that the head coach hasn't been given up on by the players, or that he's lacking the kind of respect it's going to take from the high school coaches to steer kids to a Florida State, that kind of thing. You got to know you can get players, because we also know that you could be the best offensive coordinator or defense coordinator in football, and if you don't have good players, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to have success moving the ball or stopping the ball from moving. So I just think there are a lot of factors that I'm very interested to watch Mike and this university navigate.
The thing for Mike that I'll be interested in is the priorities that he sets for the candidate that he chooses, because there's a couple of things that you're definitely going to want in your new coordinator. One, I would think you'd want them to bring a few players with them, like you've mentioned. Like maybe you've got some connections at your current place, if I'm hiring within the college ranks, that you could cajole 5 players to come with you. But would you do that at the expense of recruiting ties? Would you do that at the expense of regionality? That they have experience in this part of our recruiting map. Like, what's the trade-off there? Is 5 players good enough because I'll get that done now and we'll hire somebody else to do the recruiting thing? Like, you've got to have some nice redundancies and mixes and matches here as you piece together coordinators and assistants.
This is going to be fun to document, and it's going to be fun to cover and to talk about on a daily basis, and to do the stuff that we do here at Warchant, to do the stuff that we do on the Jeff Cameron Show and have done for now 27 years. I'm looking forward to it. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. This is truly, it's an overused word right now, but it's accurate to describe it. It is unprecedented. We are seeing things that make zero sense. We're trying to make sense of it as it's happening. Tom, for half a second, because we don't want to relive the game, 52-3, and you don't belong on the same field, and you're not competitive, and they can do anything they want from the second quarter on, and it's a broken record. It happens every week. North Carolina threw 5 passes in the second half last week because Mac Brown didn't want to run it up on his alma mater. He had a soft spot in his heart for the Garnet and Gold, a team he had never defeated before and been razzed about it for a very long time. He still pulled back and said, I don't want to do that. That's Florida State. I love Florida State. They're to be pitied. They're to be pitied, everybody. We shouldn't do this. This is the way people view Florida State right now. Various coaches viewing us as no harm, not a threat in any capacity. Look at the way that the second half of games were called with teams that could have buried us by 40 and 50 and 60 points and maybe needed to, like a Clemson or a Miami. But they, okay,